Hello and welcome to Knife Chats, a channel where we discuss the history of cutlery as well as offer reviews on affordably priced knives for the user and collector alike. Without further ado, let's see what today's video is about. I want to talk about this knife today. This is by the Syracuse Knife Company from around 1975-76. As you can tell, it is a Swiss Army style knife, and actually it is very much like the 84mm Tinker by Victorinox. Back tools are the same. You've got your Phillips screwdriver and a punch. Now let's look at the Phillips screwdriver first, because this is one of the earliest Phillips screwdrivers you'll find on a Victorinox knife. And if you see there, it's got a file on the shaft of the Phillips screwdriver. And that's the way it first showed up. It's square in shape. Well, two sides are angled off and then it's rounded. And what you have on this Syracuse knife is a squared off Phillips with a file. So almost a direct copy of the one you see on the early Tinker I was just showing. This knife is 3.5 inches long, so right at 84mm, slightly a little larger. It's got the earlier style punch that's also a quarter round. So it's square on two sides and then rounded. So it fits into the pocket nicely. It does. There's no snagging or anything with it. And the front tools are the same as what you would find on a Tinker. You've got a claw style can opener instead of the Victorinox can opener small screwdriver. And then on the back you have your cap lifter screwdriver and little notch for stripping wire. If you notice the tip of that cap lifter, it will actually fit into a number 2 Phillips screw also, so you can do flathead or Phillips with that. Of course, with a knife like this, you really don't need to use that for the screws. This one works quite well. Other blades up on top, you've got your Spearmaster blade. As you can tell, this one was used. This is not a knife that was just sitting in a cupboard somewhere. This was actually used. And you see here the tank stamp saying Syracuse Knife Company. Like I said, at this time in 75-76, this is actually a trademark of Camillus cutlery in New York. And then on the back side here, you have the pen blade. And if you see here, it gives you the model number, which is 356, and under that is product of Poland. These knives were actually made in Poland, which is kind of interesting when you consider in 75-76 Poland was still part of the Warsaw Pact. So you have an American knife company working with a communist country at the time to produce imported knives for the United States. On the front, you see the typical red plastic scales, brass pens, smooth enough. The quality is not bad at all. And then you have an eagle on the front, which probably worked just as well in Poland as it would have in the United States. The Polish eagle and the American eagle are both symbols of our national symbols. So I'm sure Poland had no problem putting an eagle on a knife, even if it was not exactly like theirs. But yeah, all in all, the quality of the knife is really good, and I really was impressed with the file on the backside there. That was just a nice touch. I did not know that was happening. The only real problem with the knife is, if you notice, the catch for the blade is in between those two, so you kind of dig in there to get it out. But that really is the only slight downfall on this knife. Now today it does have a little bit of wobble in the blade, but like I said, it has been used. This is not something that was just sitting around. Somebody actually used this for quite a while, and it's still good today. So, you know, made in 75, 76, imported to the United States, been around for what, a good 30 years, 35, 40 years, maybe more, and still hanging in there strong. So the Polish Swiss Army style knives made for the Syracuse Knife Company are, when it comes to Swiss Army knockoffs, they're one of the better ones. I rank them right up there with the ones that you found that I found from Mikov. Hope that's helpful, and hope you enjoyed it. I'll follow this up with a few slides to compare this knife with the 84 millimeter Tinker by Victorinox, and also maybe a like a Commander or something by Wenger, so you can see how all the different knives kind of meet up, and you can compare them yourself in the slideshows. Thanks for watching. Okay, on with the slideshow. What we have here is the comparative sizes of different knives. The Syracuse is the number 3 in the line. Below is a 91 millimeter Tinker by Victorinox. You notice the Syracuse knife is a little bit smaller. Above is an 84 millimeter Tinker from around the 1950s, early 60s. And you notice, again, the Syracuse knife in this case is a little bit larger. And also on the very top is an 85 millimeter Trout by Wenger, and that also is a little bit smaller than the Syracuse knife. Next up, we see a Victorinox Spartan, or actually a standard, from around 1957. And the reason I'm showing this is because you can see here the reamer used on the earlier Victorinox knives, the nicely rounded reamer, and you see the little thumb cutout for opening the reamer. And you also notice it's a lot cleaner the way it matches into the scales compared to the Syracuse knife. And here we have them both opened up with the rounded side showing. And if you notice, the Syracuse reamer is at a slight angle compared to the Victorinox, which is straight out. And here we see the flat side of both of the reamers. If you also notice, you can see the rivets on the scales on the Syracuse knife, and that you see that on both sides. Okay, here is a comparison of the two screwdrivers. Syracuse is up on top, and the Victorinox is on the bottom. This is the Victorinox Tinker from the 84 millimeter. And you can see how flush both of the screwdrivers are when they're sitting in the frame. And here we see both of them open with the round-sided showing. In this case, the Syracuse is on the bottom and the Victorinox is on top. But you notice how deep the grooves are in these number 2 Phillips. They're both quite well made. And here we see the reverse side, which is showing the files on both of these screwdrivers, the Victorinox on the left and bottom, and then the Syracuse on the right top. And you notice that it's basically just horizontal lines cutting across the across the screwdrivers. So it'd be good for like striking matches or filing your nails, either one. And I think this is one of the big selling points of this Syracuse knife, and what really makes it pretty cool is that they decided to continue to put that file on the Phillips screwdriver that was first done by Victorinox. And here we see the eagle that has been put on the handle. I've seen some sources that claim that this is the Polish eagle, and that might be the case because these knives were made by Gerlach and sold also in Poland as well as in Eastern Europe. So that could very well be the Polish eagle. But like I mentioned before, the eagle is also a national symbol in the United States, so it would have been quickly appreciated in the U.S. as it was in Poland. And here we see the tank stamp on the large blade, which reads Syracuse Knife Company. Like I said, this is actually a Camillus trademark, and the knives are actually made by Gerlach and sold in the United States under the Syracuse name by Camillus. And here we see a better look at the model number 356 and product of Poland. And there we have it. Hope you liked the slideshow as well as the video. And like I mentioned before, I really do think that as Swiss Army like knives go, these were actually pretty well made. I know other people have thought less of them, but it continues to have a good snap. The blade is sharp, and everything is nice and tight with the exception of a slight wobble in the blade. This is one of my better Swiss Army-like knives that I have. Thanks for visiting. If you like this video, please share it with a friend and consider subscribing to Knife Chats. To be notified of future episodes, don't forget to ring that bell. As always, your comments are welcome and insults are cheerfully ignored. Remember, you're only as sharp as your knife.